It's just gonna happen. Hey y'all, it's Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today. And for this video, we are gonna be doing my TBR for 2025's horror bingo board. Alright, so before we get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments, are you partaking in this challenge? I sincerely hope so, because I had so much fun doing it last year. I will put a link to my wrap-up video, which came out a few days ago, up in the cards if you missed it, where I review all of the books I read for last year's board. I had so much fun creating my TBR for this year's board. Plus, there are a few that I have some flexibility for, and I'm always a big fan of those kind of prompts. If you somehow haven't heard me talk about this challenge previously, it is hosted by Wicked Reading. I'll put a link to her in the description down below. Highly suggest giving her a follow. She created this wonderful board for us. So let me just go ahead and scoot over. We'll dive into the different prompts and what books I am hoping to maybe get read for them. Of course, this is a TBR. Chances are I will deviate a little bit. It's just gonna happen. But this at the very least gives me a starting point. That's why I like to create ones. So if I don't come across anything else that works for a prompt, I already have stuff set out that I can try to get read. So starting in the top left corner, we have published in 2025. Hard mode is to, of course, try to read this book before 2025 ends. As I mentioned in my October TBR, I am currently eyeing Killer on the Road by Stephen Graham Jones. I mean, this has become one of my favorite go-to horror authors. I really enjoyed the other book that is part of this bind up, The Babysitter Lives, even though it is definitely one of the most weird out there cosmic horror books I have read. But in this one, we are following a young woman who is running away from home, but unfortunately ends up catching the eye of a serial perpetrator that I think is a trucker. And Josh was telling me this guy is definitely creepy. So I'm really excited to get around to reading this one. Then next up we have mixed media. Hard mode is that the book includes more than 3 items of mixed media utilized. I did have to look up something for this one, but I heard that We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver apparently falls into this. I didn't realize this book had mixed media, but I've been hearing so many positive things about it. I believe it's following these women who own a house, and one day this strange family comes to visit. The dad says that like he grew up in this house and wants to know if he can just take a look around, show his kids around to see how things were when he was growing up. It evolves from there. I'm not really sure. It sounds really strange in the start, but I guess that people pleaser tendency in me also understands. I'm really intrigued to see what everybody's been talking about with this one. Next prompt is to read a indie or self-published book, but hard mode is that it is a new to you author. For this one, I'm going to go with, I think it's called Einhollow by Tim McGregor, which I believe is a Frankenstein retelling. I think Tiffany in The Lair was the one who originally brought this to my attention. I don't really know anything else outside of the Frankenstein retelling element, but it's on the shorter side. I was able to grab it from Kobo Plus, and honestly, I just really like this cover, so I'm intrigued to try and get it read. Then next up we have paranormal, but hard mode is that the main character is either a ghost hunter or like a paranormal investigator. Also had to rely on Google for this one, but I found out that apparently The Haunting of Maddie Clare by Simone St. James falls into this, and this is one of St. James's backlist books that I've had on my TBR for quite some time and have been meaning to read it, so maybe this will finally push me to get that done. I'm actually pretty excited about this prompt. I really like this hard mode. I can't say I've come across many books that have this. I can think of like romance books I've read where this was utilized, but not horror ones. But I really like the idea of it. Here's hoping I will enjoy this. Honestly, I don't actively remember what this book is about. I'm gonna say it's about a hunting. Next up is the first prompt where I don't have an official book slid in here, but it is a stolen from another TBR. Hard mode is that it is from somebody else's horror bingo TBR. So of course I gotta go and watch a few other videos to see if anything else out there strikes my fancy from someone else's videos, and then I will slide that in here, but for right now I don't have anything set out. On to the next line with an easy one, vampires, but hard mode is that the setting is modern day, and I think I'm gonna utilize this to finally read Rachel Harrison's So Thirsty. This one came out last year, and unfortunately the very mixed reviews I was hearing did kind of hinder my excitement, and so I didn't end up picking it up, but I'm still very intrigued. I love Harrison's work. I believe we're following a woman who unfortunately is very unhappy with her life right now, and she and her best friend, who is kind of a wild child, end up having this crazy night and running into some vampires. So here's hoping I'll finally get this one read here soon. Then next is to read a water setting, but hard mode was majority of the story takes place in water. I felt like Our Wives Under the Sea definitely could have worked, and of course I just read that a few months ago. But I'm currently eyeing They Bloom at Night by Tring Tran Tron. I'm not sure if this one will complete hard mode, but it is a water horror that did appeal to me. I don't think there's really a ton of water horror stories that actually interest me all that much. So this one at the very least struck my fancy. And like I said, I'll figure out if it'll complete the hard mode or not. Next one is a horror movie element, but hard mode is that you can watch a horror movie. I probably will, especially in October. But for the actual easy prompt, I figured I'd still try to read a book that would fall into this. And so I'm currently eyeing 𝗖cie by Tanya Pell. I think this one came across I think it was my Instagram, like my For You page. Is this the one that I think it had a cult element? I think this was on like a list of unpopular cult horror stories, and I can get it on Kobo Plus, which is really convenient for me to get. And then cults, yeah, that's pretty much all I needed to be interested. I know somehow a horror movie element is involved here because the series itself is called like VHS Killer or something like that. On to the next, which is a pretty fun prompt and pretty original as well, is to read a book where you can spell either ghost or scare utilizing the title and the author's name. Hard mode is that the book is by a BIPOC author, and this one was super easy for me. I had to go for another Stephen Graham Jones because his name is really long and has a lot of letters in it. Plus, one of his newest works, Buffalo Hunter Hunter, recently came out. It is very intriguing to me. And finally, it was chosen as the December pick for my Geek Squad book club hosted over on my Patreon. So I'll be getting this one read anyway. Why not slide it into here? Then we have Liminal Spaces, which is one that honestly, this is like a perfect prompt for Josh because he loves this sort of artwork, storytelling. Chances are we may buddy read this one. But hard mode is if the book has an even number of pages. I don't think I double checked on if this one does or not. Oh, thank God it does. So I'm going to be reading The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. I'm actually hoping to read this in October for the Full Moon Book Club. Honestly, it sounds very reminiscent of It kind of thing, but I've also heard a lot of people say this is similar to Stranger Things, where this group of teens find a staircase in the middle of the woods. One of them goes up and disappears, and then 20 years later, the staircase reappears. And so trying to figure out what happened to their friend. I'm guessing with the staircase, it's gonna have a liminal space element. I'm intrigued. I am. I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen with this book. And thankfully, it is 404 pages. So, works for hard mode. Onto this middle line, and these are two that I don't have a active pick yet. First one is to read a library book. I utilize my library constantly, so I definitely will do that. Hard mode is just to return the book on time. That's a different story. I tend to check my books out numerous times, so we'll see if I manage. And then after that is one that I don't want to use until I feel like I need it, but is to pick a book by chance. Hard mode is that there are 10 plus options. Whenever I'm in a really indecisive reading mood, I like relying on other stuff to pick whatever I need to read next. So this is perfect for me. I think I'm just gonna hold on to it until I'm in the mood for something horrific, but don't know what. That's a problem for future Nat. Oh, I forgot about the hard mode on this next one. So middle of the board is to read a book you have been putting off. Hard mode is to make it the first book you read for the board. And so I'm really hoping to try and finally get to Mary by Nat Cassidy. I've been putting this off for so long. I don't know why. Carrie retelling, except she's going into menopause, heard a million positive things. I've had it on so many TBRs. It's actually on my TBR for the year. At this point, I just need to read it. Here's hoping the hard mode element really kicks my butt into gear and I pick it up here soon. Next up is LGBTQ plus rep, and then hard mode is that the representation is in the main character and that there are themes around the LGBT plus community included in the story. And so I'm currently eyeing The Spirit Bares Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. This is another one that I've really been wanting to read and I've still yet to get to it for some reason. So here's hoping I finally will. This one is following a young trans boy who is unfortunately a medium, but is married off in order to lose his abilities, but because of identifying as a boy and also because he does not want to lose his abilities, he gets sent to live in a mental institution. I loved the debut from this author. I have something else on my TBR from him. I really need to get this read. Last one on this row is buddy read. Hard mode is to participate in a discussion around it. So I'm actually going to include another book club pick here. For October, actually, my Geek Squad book club is going to be reading Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. And of course, because it's my book club, I will be participating in the discussion in the Discord, and then I will also have a spoilery review of it if you're intrigued. links down in the description. And this one is kind of a twist on a haunted house story where this woman, her mom believed the house that they lived in when she was like a teenager was haunted by a demon, but she never really believed that. Now her mom has passed on, left her the house, and she's like an interior designer or something and decides she's gonna, flip it, sell it, except weird stuff starts happening and she may have to admit her mom was onto something. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see how this one goes. Then we have recommended to you. Hard mode though is that it is a book which is out of your comfort zone. This one's a big kind of. It's mostly because I just don't really have much interest in this author personally. Josh's dad actually recommended me The Long Walk by Stephen King / what was his pen name, like Richard Brenner or something like that. He has recommended this one to me so many times, tells me it's the best of King's work, and I've really been so hesitant to try anything out from King because his stuff is always really long and I hear he doesn't tend to stick the landing very well. This is maybe gonna finally push me to do it. He will be so happy. I'm really hoping I like it at least a little. Then next up we have to read a novella, which is pretty easy. I read a fair amount of horror novellas, but hard mode is to make it a repeat author. I just recently read my first from Mona Kabani, The Bell Chime, and it was weird, but I really liked it, especially the writing style. And she has another work which is called The Color of Blood. I don't really remember what the actual synopsis is, but I love this cover. It's gorgeous and creepy. Like I said, I really enjoyed her writing style itself in the prior work I read by her, so I'm thinking I'll hopefully like whatever she does with this next one. No memory of what it's about. Then we've got plant or eco or nature horror, but hard mode is the cover has nature elements on it. I'm not 100% on this actually. I think it will, but What the Woods Took by Courtney Gold. I got an arc of this. No, okay, I got this at Y'all Fest in 2024, and then like literally when I got back from that trip, I ended up winning a giveaway for it on Instagram as well, which was so ironic. So anyway, this one is pitched as Yellow Jackets meets Girl Interrupted when a group of troubled teens in a wilderness therapy program find themselves stranded in a forest full of monsters eager to take their place. So I don't 1000% know if nature horror is exactly what this is doing. It might be there. At the very least, it does have nature on the cover, so this is a possibility. Next up is the title has a verb. Hard mode is that the book is a backlist. For this one, I recently grabbed from one of those like sale days on Kobo Plus, My Soul to Keep by Tanana Reeve Dew. This one came out, I want to say like in the 90s, but that I might be overshooting that. I don't know, it might not be that old, but it definitely is a backlist. This follows a woman who ends up marrying who she believes to be like the perfect man, but come to find out, a bunch of people around them keep passing in these really violent ways. And he finally confesses that he's like 400 years old and is a part of this like Ethiopian sect that sold their souls so that they will never age. And of course, Jessica is now trapped in this weird situation between like this group of people he works with and then also of course like the man she loves. It sounds wild. I'm really intrigued to try it out. I'm not 100% sure if they're vampires, but like it kind of sounds like a spin on vampires, which also has me very intrigued. Last one on this row is Second Chance, but hard mode is that the book has an odd number of pages. So I recently for last year's board read The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica. It was okay. I didn't really love it honestly, but I have still always been curious about Tender as the Flesh, her first work that garnered a lot of attention, yet to get to it. I believe it is set in a world where there was an outbreak of disease and it affects all of the animals that people would usually feed on. Some interesting societal discussions going on there. When I looked at Goodreads, a majority of the different editions had an odd number of pages. I'm pretty sure my library has a copy, just have to get my hands on it to see if that's the case here. Next up is one that's really, I have an option here, but it's contingent on other elements. So the next one on this last row is Animal on the cover, but the hard mode is the book has to be longer than the last book you read. And this one is honestly pretty short, so I would have to time this just right to use it for this prompt. I'm looking at Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison, which is a culty story. I believe it follows a woman who escaped a cult and now is returning because like her best friend is getting married. Also heard a lot of mixed things on this one, but I really enjoy Harrison's work. It's another that I've been meaning to get around to. I know I have so much of her stuff on this board, but like I said, this is a big maybe. the only books on my own TBR that fall into this. But like I said, for hard mode, I'm gonna have to time this just right, or I might have to pick something else. Next one is to read a book that has a one-word title. Hard mode is that it has a colorful cover. And in comparison to a lot of the like black and darker covers, I do think Hungerstone by Kat Dunn can be constituted as colorful, especially with this bright green font. This is a Carmilla retelling, and I've heard lots of good things about it. I really am hoping I will love it. This was actually a bridesmaid gift to me from my best friend Allie, and she knows me so well. I cannot wait. Then we have got a debut book, but hard mode is the book is their only released work. And I believe The Lamb by Lucy Rose will fit for this. I just recently got my hands on it at an indie, and one of the booksellers told me this book changed her life. So I'm really intrigued to get it read. I believe it's following a woman and her mother who live in like this really small town off the beaten path and basically end up taking in anybody who gets lost and taking care of them. We'll say that. Another one I've heard a lot of mixed things on, but I'm very intrigued. I want to try it out, and I just also really like the simplicity of this cover. Next up is the last one that I don't have an active choice listed currently because it's kind of contingent on other factors. So the prompt is it works with another goal you have. But hard mode is that it overlaps within the YouTube community, and then you share the event in the comments of the Horror Bingo announcement video. Honestly, I'll probably do some sort of a readathon on YouTube. I partake in a lot of those, so I'll probably slide something in here for that. That's my current plan, but we'll see. Possibly it'll change. Who knows? And then last but certainly not least is social commentary. Hard mode is the author is in a marginalized group, and I think I am going to finally get around to reading The Reformatory by Tanana Reeve-Dew. This is actually based on a true story of the Dozier School for Boys, which is a terrifying tale that there's some really great documentaries on YouTube about it. Highly recommend looking them up. It follows a young black boy who unfortunately gets sentenced there after he fights a white boy for trying to attack his little sister, and then whilst there, not only is he having to deal with the horrors of the school, but he also can see ghosts. I've heard a lot of really positive things on this, but it is on the longer side. It's also definitely going to be a heavy read. So I've been a little hesitant. I think sliding it in on a TBR like this is going to be a great way to really encourage me to pick it up. Gonna be a punch in the gut. I just know it. Already knowing a little bit about the situation going in, there's going to be some talks around poverty, around racism, obviously, mental health as well. And then I'm not 100% sure on like what's the full timeline of the story. So knowing what happened to some of the men who survived that school and some of the things they went through afterwards, it's also possible addiction may make an appearance in here as well. I'm not sure. Like I said, I want to finally get around to reading this one. It's definitely a really important read. I just know it's probably gonna make me cry numerous times. On that note, that is officially it for today, y'all. So this is my TBR, obviously subject to change. It's a great starting point. I'm very excited to officially dive into this project. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let's leave an alien emoji in the comments down below. I have links to all of my socials as well as a few ways you can support me down in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!